Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we are going to color and paint our Heather Galler flower vase project. So we started this last week. If you weren't here, you'll need to get one started. We used Sharpie to begin and just did a black and white drawing. If you're not finished with your Sharpie, you will also need to finish that. And if you are finished with your Sharpie, you may begin with the part that we're going to start with today. We will start with oil pastels, and oil pastels are great because when we paint a whole picture, the paint can kind of spread and bleed and blend, and oil pastels will help that it'll keep it from happening, okay? So what I like to do with my oil pastels is I like to just kind of go around the edge. So without coloring in, just kind of go around the edge of the picture. I paint in, that's going to keep the paint from going everywhere, okay? And I'm just going to do a few little lines of oil pastel. I'm not coloring in. I'm just adding some like little detail of color. And this color is going to stand out. And I don't have to do this everywhere. I can just do this in certain spots. I don't even have to do it with every flower. Your oil pastel will help you add details that you cannot achieve with just the paint only, because the paint will spread and blend, but your oil pastels can add more details. Thing that I want everyone to do, once you've added your oil pastel, I want you to pick a color and do some sort of design in the background, like a line. It could be, like I may do just polka dots, but I want you to add some sort of design. Don't color in. I hope you noticed I colored right there. It's because between the leaves and the flowers, I would see the background wall or space. Okay, so when I color in the background or paint in the background, all these spaces between the flowers that I can see, I will paint in whatever my background color is. Okay, so now I've got the little circles here. If I wanted to add stems to my flowers, using oil pastel would be a great way to do that. So like maybe here, I could add a stem going in. Here, I could add a stem coming down. Same thing here with this big purple flower. Maybe I need a stem right here. A stem coming out of those. So I could add little stems. I want to do that with oil pastel, not paint. And then I'll just kind of finish up what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to paint, and when I paint, I love these paint trays that I got you guys, because you can see there's all sorts of different colors, and if you look here, you can read the name. This one's called Crimson, Carmine, Violet. You can read what the colors are, Brilliant Yellow, and you can see what they're going to look like, okay? So before I decide what colors I'm going to use, I can pick the color that I think I'm going to like, and I really want you to work on using these correctly, okay? So I'm going to use this green. I want to wake it up by adding water to it. Let me show y'all this. Your paint should always look wet. Okay, and I'm going to roll my brush in there several times, 10, 11, 12 times. You should be able to see the color on your brush, and that's when you know that you're ready to paint. Okay, pick my leaves, and remember, that oil pastel is going to resist the paint, so if it doesn't go on top of everything, that's fine. Rinse your brush out and pick your next color. So now I want to pick a color that I think is going to look good with the colors I've chosen. I'm going to wake up my watercolor, add the water in there, roll my brush. That's really important. We want to do that. The more you roll your brush, the more pigment you're going to have, which means the more color you're going to have. If you have more water, your paint will be more watered down and it will be lighter. Okay, so you can see mine starting. The colors, I've rubbed most of the pigment off, and so now I'm getting a lighter color. So I might need to reapply the paint to get darker paint. Okay, there was still water in my paint, so I didn't even have to dip my brush into the water. But if my paint looks dry, you need to add water, okay? So wake up the color, roll it in there several times, and then paint. Now, you can see that the purple is blending and bleeding in there with that color. That's fine with me. I think that might look good. All right, I'm going to finish painting this, and then I'll show you what it looks like. You're going to spend the majority of your time today painting your flowers, painting your vase, and painting your background. So take your time with the painting part. The oil pastel part should be pretty quick. You're only adding a little bit of that. And be sure that you're rinsing out your brush. You're waking up your watercolor paint. You are rolling your brush on her tippy toes like a ballerina into the paint to pick up the paint and pigment. If your paint is too thick or it's covering up your oil pastel, that means you need some more water. Don't forget to get all the little background spaces between the flowers. Okay, when you're finished, these need to go on the drying rack. If you finish before the timer goes off, you have my permission to take this to the drying rack on your own. But if you finish after the timer goes off, then you need to allow Green Table to come pick up your art. If you sit at Green Table, you need to hold these carefully like this. Don't hold them up and down because they may drip. So we need to hold them carefully like this. Take one at a time, maybe two at a time at the most. And if you are Yellow Table, you are going to be sure everybody's paintbrushes are rinsed out, left at their table, and then you can go replace the water and get clean water for each table. The paint trays should stay open because they need to dry between people using them. So leave the paint trays open. Your oil pastels should be in your oil pastel bucket, and you'll be done for today. Have fun.